So, welcome to Friday. I figured since we talked a little bit about Blue at the beginning of the week, which I never posted those pictures, and eventually I will, we would talk about Marble on Friday. So, Marble's story. I honestly think her story is the weirdest story I've ever had. But, so we had Blue, we had her for a few months, and as she got older, we ended up switching schedules, so she was alone for longer during the day when we were both at work. And one day I noticed her carrying around the little puffs that she used to play with. And then she was taking it everywhere. She was sleeping with it, she was putting it in her food, she was putting it in her water. I found one near the litter box, which was really gross. They were everywhere. And I started to wonder if this was her new best friend. Because she was lonely. So I'm telling Miles this. I'm saying, hun, I think she's lonely. I think it's because we're not home as often. We're both working. I don't know what's happening. My poor baby's so lonely. We discussed that we're going to consider getting another cat. So I filled out the application online for San Antonio Pets Alive because they have an application process. And once you get approved, you can go in and adopt a pet whenever you want, essentially. So I filled out the application. We got approved because we already had a cat and we're not crazy that you know of. So we got approved and we finally made it out to the PetSmart down the road because they had a little San Antonio Pets Alive area. So you can go in and adopt pets from them. So that way it's not necessarily like from the puppy mill, it'll be from shelters. And that's where they get all their pets from. So we went in, we are debating whether or not we want an older cat or a younger cat. So if you want a kitten, they're more expensive because more people want them. If you want an older cat, it's less expensive. So I was leaning towards an older cat. I was like, maybe someone to take care of her because she's still really little. And after going in and like looking at different cats, they pulled out Marble first and they put her down. Blue hissed. Marble just said, okay, and walked away and started playing with all the toys on the floor. We did a few more cats. We did some older cats, some younger cats. They said the first one was probably the best reaction we can hope for, only because, you know, if she's going to be like that, then the best reaction is for a cat that doesn't care and just moves on until she gets used to it. So I'm thinking, okay, well, we'll go home and think about it, and we'll debate, and we'll do what we do. My husband surprises me by turning around and saying, all right, I guess we'll take this one. And we walked out of there with the cat, and I was like, I didn't buy an extra carrier. I am not ready for this. We came here with Blue, and we left with Blue and Marble. That was unexpected. I didn't even bring my driver's license. I was not driving. But my name was on the application, so I needed my driver's license. Fortunately, I had a picture of it, and it worked out just fine, but that was a wild day. So we take her home. Blue's upset the whole time. She's hissing at her like crazy. We have to keep them in separate rooms for a while. So we kept Blue in our room because we trust Blue more. Let Marble kind of figure out the house. Blue, every time Marble comes to the door, she was crying at the time, like constantly. She needed attention. And she would cry at the door. Blue would go to the door and hiss at her, and then Marble would be quiet for a little bit. So the running joke was that she was telling her to shut up because we all just needed some sleep. So we're still trying to get them used to each other, and it took forever. They finally get used to each other. And then we start to discover that we found ourselves a sickly cat. And here's the thing that most people don't know. Cats fart. Whether or not you've ever heard that before, it is true, and I would have proved it to you at that day because, oh my gosh, this cat could clear a room. I am not even talking like, whew, that smells bad, like, gas mask, get out of there. She's trying to take over the household. It was so bad. And we're freaking out. We're trying to figure out. And so one thing is if cats are unhappy or they have a change in environment, their stomach could just be upset, and that could be part of it. So we're like, okay, we're just going to have to give her time and buy a lot of Febreze. So we did buy a lot of Febreze, and we gave her time. And kind of going through it and trying to figure it out, and months passed, and she's still, Blue's more accustomed to her. They seem to be getting along slowly, but she's still farting up a storm that could like clear a household, and we're just like, what the heck? We tried a couple of different foods, nothing seemed to make it better, and finally it came time. We told the vet we'd got another cat, and she'd mentioned that we just needed to make an appointment, and kind of based on her age, they wanted to get her in at about 6 months because we were going to put her on the same plan Blue was on, but she wouldn't be a kitten after 6 months, and she'd already had been spayed. We didn't need to pay the extra amount for the kitten plan because that's part of why it's more expensive. Anyway, we bring her in finally. This is the day we've been looking forward to forever. We bring in the cat. They're like, it could just be a new environment, it could just be the food, and I was like, I did my research, I know it could have been all of that, but I'm telling you, this cat is sick. They're not having it, they're not really like taking me seriously. They're like, you just might be a paranoid cat mom, it's okay, it happens. And I'm like, no, I'm not a paranoid cat mom, I'm trying not to get gassed out of my own house. Finally, part of the whole test that they run, sorry, I've got cat fur all over the place, making my nose itch. Part of the test that they run is that they do a little thing that goes up their butt, pulls out a little bit of poop, and they sample it to make sure that, you know, everything's okay in the bum. They put it in, they take it out, and they're like, that should not be that consistency or color. And I was like, you think? My cat's sick. So they finally go look at it. They take forever looking at it. They finally come back and they're like, well, your cat's tummy is definitely not okay. And in case you're wondering why I'm distracted, Marble's with us today. Say hi, Marble. So they run some tests and they said, essentially, your stomach's got your cat's got an upset stomach. She's got some bad bacteria in there. We're gonna give her some medicines to help clear it out and some probiotic to put the good stuff back. So we go through that. It's still not helping. She's farting slightly less. Poop is still not consistent enough. And there's a whole bunch of other things that we're just like not happy with. And we've gone through a few doctors. We finally get like the older, more experienced doctor, which is the one that I love because he was the first one to figure out how to calm Blue down in the vet's office. He finally comes in. We pull up her medical records because it was just time. We needed something, and that was obviously something wrong with this cat. And they'd mentioned something when we adopted her about having gone through a lot of sick times. So we got her medical records. Evidently, she'd got a little sniffly when she came into the shelter, and because of that, they gave her some medicine. But it wasn't going away, so they gave her all the medicine. They cycled through every drug you could possibly give a cat, and it killed all of her good bacteria in her stomach, which allowed room for bad bacteria to grow. I'm sitting here in this office listening to this going, you mean this has been there since we got her? And it's not our fault? I'm not happy. Granted, the entire little kennel place where they had all the cats smelled, because when you have that many cats in the same place with litter boxes in their kennels, it's gonna smell. Marble, you gotta behave, baby. You're the star today. She's just not having it with me today. So she's just shedding fur like crazy. It just might be that time of the day. So we finally get a better idea. We get her cleared up, and her stomach finally starts to feel better. Her farts are less frequent and also significantly less smelly. She's doing a lot better. We finally have everything straightened out after Odin knows how many trials and errors. We did medication, we did like a gastrointestinal special food, and a lot of different things. We finally got it cleared up. I'm not quite sure what it was. Maybe it was a combination of all of it, and then just time for her body to figure it out. It helped so much, and it changed her demeanor entirely. She was such a happy cat after that, but she already was a happy cat, but now she was like bouncing off the walls, the happiest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, how much pain were you in? So we finally got it cleared up, and she's a much happier cat. It also solved a lot of the issues we'd been having her behavioral wise, because she'd been pooping and peeing in random places. It's not my favorite thing to find. She'd even managed to poop in a cardboard box that had other stuff in it, and we had to figure out how to clean that up. It was not fun. This cat tested my patience and still tests my patience because, oh my gosh, cat, how is it possible to get that sick that often? I say this because a couple of weeks ago, I started having problems with her behavior again. I found that she'd been peeing in random places. She peed in a cardboard box that was on top of her litter box, because their litter box are contained, and we'd already trained him to use it, so that wasn't the issue. And she'd been using it fine for months. Hadn't changed the litter, hadn't changed the food, hadn't changed really anything. They seemed to be fine with the new location when we moved it. We gave it some time. But she peed on a cardboard box that was on top of the litter box. She peed in some reusable grocery bags, which was really gross because one of them retained the water and you could hear it sloshing. I just threw it all in the washing machine, got it all cleaned up. I didn't want to think about it. And it was just bad. And I was like, what the heck is up with this cat? So there's always two options that it can be when your cat starts to behave like that. One of them is that they're sick, and one of them is that it's a behavioral issue. The reason it could be is that they're sick is they don't have a lot of ways to communicate with you that they're not feeling good. So they'll throw up in places that you'll notice. They'll pee in places that will bother you so that you can do something about it. They'll poop and all of the things they'll try to do in front of you or in a place that you'll notice it, because that's how they're going to get your attention and the best reaction out of you. So I didn't quite react the best way I should have, but, I'm trying to figure out what to do about this cat. I thought it might be behavioral because she had been seeming fine. And I'm reading up on all of it, and I'm trying to figure out what it is, because if it's behavioral, it could be that she doesn't like a new litter, but we hadn't changed the litter. She doesn't like the new litter box, or there's not enough litter boxes. We have 2. And I'm cleaning them out fairly regularly now. Like, I finally got into a good schedule where it's like just about every other day it gets cleaned. And since there's 2 of them, it's really never that dirty. Like, there's always a lot of fresh litter in there. And so I'm trying to figure out what the heck this is. And didn't change the food. Nobody else moved into our house, which is another thing. If you get a new person moving into the house, the cat can react poorly if that happens, because it's a change in their environment. And I'm trying to figure something out to excuse this cat's behavior, because it's upsetting me now. And I'm looking and I'm trying to figure it out, and it's really getting frustrating because she even peed outside the litter box right next to me and looked at me while doing it. Which, looking back, it might have been, "Look, Mommy, my tummy hurts." Either way, that's not how you tell me, because I react very poorly. So, I'm just about having it with this cat, and I finally find out that one of the reasons could be they could have a UTI infection. And if you don't know what that is, you might be a guy, because you don't get them as often. Luckies. Anyway, it's a urinary tract infection. It just means that some bad bacteria went up your urethra, and it hurts when you pee, and you feel like you need to pee frequently, and a burning sensation when you pee. Lots of bad stuff. So one of the things is they might just suddenly need to pee, and wherever they're at, they're gonna pee. And it's uncomfortable, and it's not fun. So they might not always pee in their litter box, and that's one of the things. And they try to make it in a place that you'll notice, so that you'll do something about it. We finally took her in, and I was like the happiest person in the world to drop her off at the vet's office that day, because I was kind of done with her and I needed time away from her. So they have drop-off appointments because they need to catch some urine to test it, because that's how you figure out if that's what they have. And so I dropped her off in the morning, didn't get an update, so I was a little nervous. It turned out they were just really busy, which I totally understand. Pet emergencies are pet emergencies. So I dropped her off. It was fine. We finally go at in the evening when my husband gets home, and we go pick her up, and find out that evidently what they do when they put them in their little kennels is, especially for the cats, they'll put them in a kennel and they'll have a litter box on the side for them so they can use it and have access to all of the stuff. So evidently she peed outside that litter box, even in the kennel where it's not that big of a space, it's not hard to find. She just peed. And she even peed on herself a little bit. Yeah, that sounds like marble. Of course she did. So we get there. They said, yes, she peed on herself, and that's why her tummy was all up when we picked her up, because they had to wipe her down with some wipes, which they're special pet wipes. Turned out she did have a UTI infection. I was like, okay, I'm a little torn between the whole, yay, it was because she was sick, because now I know how to figure out how to fix a behavioral issue. And, oh, she was sick and I got really mad earlier. So we got some medication for her, we took her home, started her on it. The next day she's bouncing around and purring like crazy, and I'm like, okay, you were sick and now you're feeling better, and I'm sorry for yelling at you, but you need to apologize for peeing in my grocery bags when I wanted to go and shop for groceries. So, Marble has just been the craziest journey for us. Blue's not usually sick very frequently. We might have thought she had a sore throat one time, and that went away really quickly. She seemed to have scratched her eye or irritated her eye at some point, and that cleared itself just fine. But she's a little trooper, and evidently she was just trained well enough that she's like, I'm just going to power through everything. Because that's who she is. Also, she was like a ceiling cat, and she learned the rules pretty quickly. And she's been going to the vet since she was born, so we try to make sure she's in good health. Just clear that. But Marble was a whole new adventure for us that just, it drives us crazy sometimes, but she's also a really sweet cat. You can kind of see her in the background there where she likes to go and sit and groom herself. She's got the cutest habits whenever she's doing something she's not supposed to, like if she's getting on the nightstands or she's trying to reach for something like my hair ties, because she just loves my hair ties. You see what I mean? She even will fetch them most of the time. And there she goes. People laugh that she fetches and that she's such a big cuddler and she wants all the attention, and almost all of the time it's because they're like, cats aren't like that, they don't want to cuddle, they don't want that much attention. And my response is always the same. They're animals and they want to be loved, they just want to be loved their way, just like people. There's some people who want hugs all the time. There's some people who don't. My family. But everyone's a little different, and so she's our cuddly little cat. When she's getting into stuff that she's not supposed to, you go, Marble! And she'll just stop, turn around, and start looking herself like, I'm not doing anything, I'm just cleaning, I'm grooming myself, I'm fine. And she purrs like a chainsaw. Like, you'll get her and it'll be a very heavy, deep purr, and you know she's purring. She purrs for everything. She has the cutest little, when you pet her, her paws do this. She'll stretch them out. You gonna come over here, Marble? Come here. Say hi to the people, Marble. You can tell them that you're such a sweet cat. Or you can just slump on my vanity. Either way, I think the biggest lesson that we learned when we adopted Marble was to be patient with your animals. They don't have very many ways to communicate with you, so it might not always be them being vindictive, which is something that people always try to tell me. It's like, oh, your cat's just giving you attitude. And a lot of the times it just turns out they're trying to tell you that they're not feeling well, or they're sick, or it's time to eat, Mom, and you're not out of bed yet. And it's just their way of communicating with you. So she's teaching me a lot about being patient and trying to, like, take it one step at a time and be patient with her. And a lot of patience. Did I say patience? I'm not very patient most of the time. But she's been really good for us and just teaching us that. She also keeps Blue on her toes. Mostly because Blue's a little punk that always likes to win. She hates losing. And so when she loses, she starts to hiss and throw a fit like, leave me alone, I don't want to be played with. We got a little champ right here. She does not lose. She's also like the favorite cat because we can do the whole, hello, Mr. Bond, because she'll sit in your lap most of the time. And she'll hug.
I don't know if she's holding on for dear life or hugging. You can never really tell. Can you, Marble? Anyway, hope you all have a great weekend, and that was Marble's story. Maybe you too will adopt your own shelter cat and figure out how to handle a sick cat. Thanks for listening.